Minister, I'm sure you will agree with me that over the past number of weeks the whole country has been saddened and indeed shocked at the continuous stream of revelations emerging from the national suicide charity Console and how it was being run by the former CEO. The interim CEO, David Hall, has described what was going on as a tactical and considered web of deceit and a prolonged abuse of public trust and public monies. And it is indeed a betrayal of trust, a betrayal of the trust of those who volunteered their time to raise money for Console, those who donated to Console, to the staff of Console who provided the essential services, and indeed, most of all, a betrayal of trust of those who depend on the vital services that Console has been providing. And the real risk here, Minister, of course, is that people will just get tired of the ongoing stream of revelations from the charitable sector and will inevitably have an impact on donations, and that of course would be the real tragedy here. Now, in the case of Console, as I understand it, Minister, the staff are owed €86,000. We read this morning from David Hall on the Irish Examiner, where he says the HSE haven't met with me in the 2 weeks since this happened. A meeting has been promised with Ministers Harris and McEntee, but nothing happened, no meeting, no solutions, nothing. Now, it's 2 weeks on from the RTE Investigates programme in relation to Console, and I understand that following Mr Hall putting a bomb essentially under the HSE and the department last night, that a meeting has taken place this morning with the Chief Financial Officer of the HSE, Department of Health officials, ministerial advisors and indeed the charities regulator, and he has put a proposal, as I understand it, to protect the services that Console is providing. And let's remember what this is all about, Minister. It is about a helpline for people who are going through a very difficult time in their life, who may have suicidal tendencies. It's about providing counselling services for those who have been bereaved, where a loved one has taken their own life through suicide, and it's about protecting the outreach supports. So last year alone, over 5,500 individual counselling sessions were provided by staff members of Console. So, Minister, the question I want to ask you is, can you give a commitment that the essential services that Console has been providing and continues to provide under extraordinarily difficult circumstances will be protected and will continue to be provided? And can you give an assurance that the 12 full-time staff, the 60 part-time staff, who are collectively owed €86,000, as I understand it, will also be protected? So I want to know, where does this go from here, Minister? There has been a lack of political leadership on this issue. Not a single minister of the government has picked up the phone and rang David Hall, has spoken to the staff of Console in the last 2 weeks since these astounding revelations were aired by RTE.
Thank you very much,
despite the fact that you would have had these revelations for a number of months in the form of the HSE audit report.
Okay, Minister Bruton, thank you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think I would join with Deputy McGrath in sharing his concern that there would be an impact on many people who are in a very vulnerable position, that our primary objective now must be to protect the services which have been very valuable and delivered with great commitment by people within Console. And this has come as a huge shock to those working within the sector and those who are supporting it. I think it is important to also point out that the way in which this came to light was through enhanced governance oversight by the HSE, leading to an audit by the HSE of what was going on within Console. And the system has been, if you like, working. We can all say it might have worked faster. We can all point to reforms, for example, in the charities regulator that we would like to see. And I think those are validly made. But I can assure you that there is a meeting, there has been a meeting with Console. The primary motivation behind that meeting is to protect the services, as the Deputy say, to make sure that the workers who have been in this service are treated properly and the service continues to be delivered. I can also assure you that the Minister for Justice has signed the order to give the Charities Regulator the necessary investigative powers, the Part 4 of the Act. So the regulator, the Charities Regulator, will be equipped with the investigative powers and the staffing necessary to pursue that. I think it is up to this House, and we have, for example, the PAC assessing the issue. I know there are suggestions that we need to further amend some of the legislation in this sphere, and I think the government is open to changes in that legislation should it prove possible and necessary. But I think this is being dealt with as a priority. There is real action being taken to make sure that the services are protected, but also that the governance and oversight is tightened in all of these areas, because the charitable sector and the voluntary sector is an enormously important part of service delivery. No government or no public body can achieve the reach that can be achieved by committed members of the community with a dedication that has been involved in so many of these areas. But we have to provide a regulatory framework where the public can have confidence, and that's our determination.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy McGrath.
Thank you very much, Minister. I welcome your commitment to protect the services, and that is the single most important issue here. The people who are feeling suicidal, for those who have been bereaved through the suicide of a family member, that they have support, that they have someone that they can call. And the staff of Console, in extraordinarily difficult circumstances, have continued to maintain those services. But people will need to know, Minister, whether there is a future for a reformed Console, or whether the services currently provided by Console will be subsumed into another organisation, another charity, mental health services, or whomever. And we do need to know that. And I haven't been impressed at the lack of direct political involvement in dealing with this issue. It has been probably the single biggest domestic news story in the last couple of weeks, and not a single minister with direct line responsibility has taken the initiative to talk to the staff, to talk to the interim CEO, who has had to go to incredible lengths to deal with the issues that flow from the revelations of how that organisation was being run. So can you tell me, does Console have a future? Are you giving a guarantee that the services that people rely on will be continued and will be protected, and in what form? And there can be no gap in the provision of those services, Minister, given the very sensitive and the very personal nature of the services that are involved here, that can actually save lives and do save lives. And 5,500 individual counselling sessions last year is what we all need to remember, and that's what we're seeking to protect here, despite the appalling betrayal of trust that was perpetrated by those involved in running Console.
Thank you very much. Minister Bruton.
No, first of all, I'd like to assure you that the relevant ministers have been directly involved in these meetings. This is not being on a hands-off basis. I think their priority is to ensure the continued delivery of those services, and I think there isn't a member of the House who hasn't been touched by some family who suffered a suicide, and the dramatic impact that has on all around them. And the support services of organisations like Console are absolutely central. On your question as to whether the service will be protected within Console or within some other organisation, I think that is really the subject of discussion that I can't give you an authoritative answer on that. But I think that the core commitment and objective is to do as the Deputy has asked, to make sure that the services are protected, that those who depend on the services are continue to be supported, that the workers within that service who have been very dedicated and for whom this has come as a total surprise, that they are supported. And I think that is the objectives of government as it is for Deputy McGrath.
Thank you very much.